Los Angeles Rams at the Tennessee Titans. A little Super Bowl rematch from '99.
1 yard short.
Yeah. Sunday at 1. Rams favored by 5.5 here. Have to say, have you seen some of the Cam Ward discussions this week?
No.
Nothing crazy. Let's talk about Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick. Dan Orlovsky, I think Chase Daniel, both raving about the Cam Ward film.
So the backup QBs love him.
Well, he's making throws that they can't make.
That's quite a large part of Dano's repertoire.
I can't do that, so I'm really impressed.
The man's mind is just blown by like high-end quarterback physical tools.
I've said this before. The worst, my baseball analogy, the worst game-calling catchers, right? So the catcher calls the pitches, Sam, right? And the pitcher executes. I could shake him off, but he calls the pitch.
Okay.
The worst catchers were the ones who called the game based off what they couldn't hit. Right, so they'd be like, I can't hit a curveball, so I'm going to throw. But it's like I'm throwing to this hitter. I'm not throwing to you, who's an awful hitter. That is sometimes you get this analysis where it's like I'm so impressed with what Cam's Ward do. I can't do that, and I'm fine with that. So you have on one end you've got people raving about Cam Ward. On the other hand, you have people reciting the stats all the way, from sack percentage to CPOE to QBR, and you're just citing every stat, which is awful for Cam Ward. And as always, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
No.
With Cam Ward.
Can that possibly be true?
And I wanted to go back and give it a second look, and there's definitely a lot to like there. And out of 35 or so dropbacks, there was probably 7 or 8 where he had no chance.
Yeah.
Where he had no chance. Other ones that he did, man, he missed a touchdown on the goal line, had a little sprint out, had an open receiver, and he's peeking back at the pressure. And so there's rookie plays in there from Cam Ward. But overall, you talk about the arm talent, the zip on the ball, up the seam. Like he can see it and throw it, and maybe even I think he has enough of a quick release and arm strength to offset anticipation, which I don't always say. In other words, you don't have to you could sacrifice some anticipation because you're going to get the ball into these windows because of your release and velocity. That stuff was impressive, and certainly there were some drops in there that hurt timeliness-wise.
Yeah.
But it was an up-and-down rookie performance from Cam Ward, but against a really tough defense in Denver.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
It sort of felt like if you gave Shedeur Sanders, high-end physical tools, it felt like a Colorado game from last year where you're like, I don't know how much you can even take out of this because it's non-workable for like half the plays. But you were at least like, oh, look, he's obviously got an arm and he's athletic and stuff, right? So that's kind of what it felt like to me. There was definitely encouraging signs. There were also some plays that he missed. But you're like, look, it's as difficult a task as you're going to get. It's less complicated than a Brian Flores defense. So depending on what you value the most in terms of difficulty from a quarterback perspective, you could say, look, Flores, this is more difficult to deal with. But like this is an aggressive defense. It plays a ton of man coverage. Their personnel is exceptionally good. They're going to get as much pressure as anybody. It's as hard as it gets. The problem is it's almost as hard as it gets this week as well.
And it's the same. It is a tough start, man. And that was the other thing. Like when they had 3rd and longs, I always look for blitz answers. 3rd and long, it's tough because you want to throw the ball beyond the sticks. Denver is just throwing overload blitzes at them. There's free rushers, and they don't have anybody to throw to. They've got these downfield routes, and there was nowhere to go. Plus, Nick Bonito was blowing up the entire game. I mean, that's an issue. We talked about Tennessee maybe creeping back toward average on the offensive line, and part of that was, Dan Moore is just a rank average offensive lineman. At least he was last year. He had been below average for 3 straight years. Well, he got whooped last week by Bonito. Now he's got Jared Verse this week. Like, if Dan Moore is a liability at left tackle, and by the way, J.C. Latham, he struggled a little bit, then he got hurt. Oli Udoh comes in. He's not even a great swing tackle. I mean, if that's what you're dealing with, and you've got this Rams front after playing the Broncos front, it's a rough start here for Cam Ward and the Titans.
Yeah,
and it's not like they have Calvin Ridley and some young receivers that are unproven.
That's the thing. Like you've got an offensive line that has got a bunch of question marks. Lloyd Cushenberry coming back off injury as well. Like you might have 3/5 of that offensive line that are going to be problems all the way through the year. Maybe it'll be 2/5, whatever. Like you've got some issues. The receiving core looked like it was problematic on paper and kind of is. It's Calvin Ridley. Ayo Maynard, the rookie, showed some flashes week 1, but not enough that you'd be like, yeah, he's definitely the dude that's going to carry this thing. So, yeah, there's just not enough help around him yet. And that's fine if it wasn't for the fact that week 1 is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Week 2 is another of the best defenses in the NFL. Like, it's tough sledding for Cam Ward to start the season.
Rams are favored by 5.5. The over-under is just 41.5 because the Rams just scored 14 the other day. I mentioned their last 4 regular season games with their starters. They've given up 6, 9, 9, and 9 points. So the defense has been outstanding. But I thought Tennessee's defense also did a nice job. Now, Bo Nix had some, I would say, unforced type of errors last week. But Tennessee, you've got Tavondre Sweat, clogging up the middle on a QB sneak. Jeffrey Simmons creating a lot of pressure on the interior. Tennessee's defense, they were feisty last year. They just had some awful special teams, and it hurt their points per game and everything. But I think we could see a bit of a defensive battle here. But the Rams' offensive line, a question last week going up against the Texans. But, man, I think you already saw a Stafford-Devontae Adams connection, Stafford to Puka Nacua. You give Stafford time, I think they're going to find ways to create some big plays in the pass game here.
Yeah, I feel like the Rams defense will do a similar job on the Titans offense that the Denver defense did, and then I feel like the opposite side of the ball, I think the Rams will have more success on offense this time against a defense that's still feisty, but they're not as good as last week's opponent. So I expect the Rams to win this reasonably comfortably and cover.
Look at you jumping right to the pick. That's good. Getting on pace here. I'm going to take Tennessee. I'm going to say their defense keeps it close. So they're going to Rams to win, Tennessee to cover the 5.5 here. That fair?
Yep.
So people don't come back, you picked against us.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?